With the curtains going up on English theatre in Sri Lanka once again, with Steve De La Silva directing Yasmina Reza's art this weekend, we thought it fitting to celebrate World Theatre Day, which falls on the 27th of March, by looking at some popular theatres around the world. Welcome to Kaleidoscope with me, Savithri Rodrigo, and what you see on the backdrop is No from Japan, one of the oldest classical traditions of world theatre, using elaborate makeup and masks with the reasoning that facial expressions are considered vulgar. So they either wore masks or kept their faces expressionless. Ahead on the program, we will have excerpts of our panel discussion with the positive disruptors we had on the final day of the Kargil's International Women's Day Festival. That's on Srilanka Live. Let's talk. Find out how to stop the slide of the rupee and enjoy some raw goodness. That's on our People's Bank News Capsule, and get a scoop on his new book from Ashok Ferry on Singer Life in 60. Plus, a quick roundup of the week that was. Celebrating World Theatre Day and some theatre genres, the world-famous Italian opera is just awesome, isn't it? Birthed in Florence in the 1500s, La Bohème, Madame Butterfly, La Traviata and Aida has surely captivated all of us through the years. And now, onto our Kaleidoscope snapshot. The central bank entered into a $1.5 billion swap deal with the People's Bank of China, which would boost Sri Lanka's near-term reserves. Inflation accelerated to 4.2% in February, mainly driven by food price increases, which went up by 6.9%. Year-on-year worker remittances in February was up by 10% to $527.3 million. A first-of-its-kind floating agro-tourism resort project is to be launched soon in Katana. After a one-year hiatus due to COVID last year, the Mahagastota Festival of Speed will be back on the road in April. With a net profit of $57.4 billion, Apple topples Saudi Aramco as the world's most profitable company. The oil giant's profits slipped to a mere $49 billion in 2020. And by 2030, Ireland will cut its greenhouse gases by 51% to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. Russia's puppet theatre goes back to the 6th century, incorporating ancient customs of masks, dummies, and evolving from hand puppets to wood and metal puppets, and then onto the more intricate marionettes seen today. Our People's Bank News Capsule begins with a bit of a worrisome trend: the slide of the Lankan rupee. So how can Sri Lanka stabilize it? Former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, W.A. Wijewardena, returns to Kaleidoscope with some words of advice.
Sri Lanka rupee has been under pressure for depreciation ever since the country became independent from the British in 1948. In that year, $1 was equal to 3 rupees and 31 cents. Today, the value of the rupee has fallen to a level of 200 Sri Lanka rupees per $. The option available to Sri Lanka has been to go to IMF and get an arrangement with IMF to bail out the country's economy. Unfortunately, the present government says that it doesn't want to get such an arrangement with IMF because IMF always imposes conditions which the government is unable to meet. As a result, Sri Lanka has to now meet its own foreign exchange requirement from within the economy. For that purpose, Sri Lanka had imposed import controls and also a lot of exchange controls to prevent the outflow of foreign exchange from the country. However, those restrictions imposed on Sri Lanka's external sector have been insufficient for the currency to be maintained at the current level. So this is a clear warning for the government to maintain the rupee stability by getting some arrangement with the IMF in order to safeguard the country's interest.
The Colombo stock market rebounded after those unprecedented slides of the last few weeks. The all-share price index moved up by 3.2% this week, although the average daily turnover remained at a lackluster 1.2 billion rupees. After oil hit one-year highs last week and growing concern about demand recovery led to WTI oil dropping to $60.36 per barrel. This week, spot gold was flat at $1,734 per ounce, as support from easing US Treasury yields was offset by a strong dollar. In celebrating women in this month of March, it is surely rewarding to note that the insurance industry, once a male bastion, is now seeing a paradigm shift. Srilanka Life ended 2020 with a near-perfect gender balance in its sales force, with over 49% of its 4,300-strong sales team being female. Sri Lanka's abundance of fresh fruit, vegetables and leafy greens inspired Ronali Pereira to build a beverage business that incorporates age-old Ayurvedic principles into a well-balanced offering of fresh juices in numerous flavors, all of which add great doses of daily nutrition to maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Here she is with her story.
Now, 5 years ago when I started Raw, the rate of deaths due to non-communicable disease was 60%, and as at now it's over 75% of deaths. And one way that you can reduce your chances of getting a non-communicable disease is by having enough fruits, vegetables and leafy greens in your diet, which amounts to around 400 grams. And that's where Raw comes in. So Raw has your daily dose of fruits, vegetables and Ayurvedic leafy greens in a ready-to-drink bottle. Another thing that I like to promote through Raw is our local fruits and vegetables and Ayurvedic indigenous leafy greens. So for example, if you look at this, there is Gotukola, Mukunuwana, Hatavaria, Tebu, which are all found in Sri Lanka and they have really good medicinal properties to them.
Bill Gates is on yet another mission. He has plans to spray millions of tons of chalk into the stratosphere to reflect sunlight and slow global warming, basically dimming the sun and cooling the earth. The largest art canvas, called The Journey of Humanity, spanning 17,176 square feet, that's the size of 4 basketball courts, sold for $62 million. California has a new surfer, a large white goat. A surfing instructor uses his pet goats Pismo and Grover to teach children to surf and overcome their fear of water, giving a whole new meaning to, if you can't beat him, join him.
With Srilanka Life Pension Saver, Sri Lanka's premier retirement plan, start planning for your retirement today. Srilanka Life, a relationship for life.
Day 4 of the Cargill's International Women's Day Festival of the Changemakers, a collaboration between Tharu Villas and our program Kaleidoscope with Savithri Rodrigo, we spoke with 3 young women who have not just disrupted mindset but entire paradigms, all with the underlying tenet of being socially responsible and environmentally conscious. Here are some excerpts of that discussion we titled The Disruptors, with founder of Ape and co-founder of Colab, Himali De Silva, co-founder and MD of The Good Market, Achala Samaradivakara, and founder and CEO of Good Life X, Randula De Silva, on Srilanka Life. Let's talk.
Did you have an aha moment when you thought, okay, I've just had enough, let me get on with it and change this?
When I see something that needs change, that is unsettling to me, I wouldn't just sit with it or let it sit. And there was a series of such very many things from the day I started my adult life at work to now that I've seen that could be better. And I think it's all of those nodes tied in together that created Good Life X. All these experiences of working with SMEs, working with entrepreneurs, working with innovators, working with amazing potential that Sri Lanka has, and yet how little we tap into these. So all this in combination were a series of ahas that really got me here.
Maybe sometimes communities are not really ready to supply to a proper supply chain. So then we were thinking like what to do. Then the kind of like aha moment came and we thought like, okay, why we can't start maybe something to connect these small scale people to a good kind of like a conscious people in maybe somewhere in Colombo.
For Ape, it was actually with my friends when we realized that we have so much clothes and accessories, and what do we do with it? Where for Collab, it was with me and my business partner who's sitting here, Alison, where we realized that for other brands, like a lot of business owners have so much on their plate. They don't have the time to figure out how the algorithm's changing, how social media is changing, which platform is coming, what's trending. So you're like, why don't we help other business owners? Especially because during COVID, what our thinking is that either we all help each other to survive the next year or two, or we're all going to fail. So that's it wasn't an individual aha moment, it was a collective aha moment that led to both the startups.
What are the characteristics of these women who have their own little businesses going? What do you think makes them those strong women that actually makes you get them on board and do stuff with them?
When it comes to women, they always trying to share each other. They always talk each other because they never copy somebody else's things. They wanted to do something new and filling the ecosystem gaps. They're always coming up with creative ideas, and they are, trying to create a better world and better economy because they are mothers. End of the day, they have a responsibility about their future generation, and then the end of the day, mother planet.
I don't like to see things in a gender lens, but I think the femininity and the masculinity in a business world, in the way we lead, it's apparent. We can't ignore it. And there's been enough and more instances where the collaborative nature, the transparent way of working has really helped when there is a woman in the room. Women are changing how decisions are being made in boardrooms and how we look at growing the pie and not really splitting the pie. So I think that shift of mindset or that paradigm shift really is now apparent more than ever before, because there's a lot of women who are being heard and are stepping up to really change the game.
In the startup space, I do feel that women do have a little bit, and that could be cultural, we're a little bit more nurturing because we're put into the wife, mother, housekeeper role. So therefore, it's like watering a plant, right, or taking care of a plant. A woman, it just has that more nurturing quality. So for a startup, it's basically, it's not a sprint, it's a race. It's a marathon. So maybe having a female element does help in the startup space, I will say that. But I don't think it's our generation. I think the generation before us paved the way for us, and now we're really pushing that extra mile.
What do you say to young people who want to disrupt but hold themselves back?
Be fearless. Honestly, there's everything you define for yourself. No one else should. Get up and try, and if it fails, you get up the next day and you try again. That's the whole point of life.
Let's work together to make our country a better economical country, and in the better country to people to proudly say it's Sri Lanka. It's a very good country. It's own kind of like our own, country, like not like a Singapore. It's a Sri Lanka.
And the trick in all of it is to just go ahead and do it. And more you fail, the better you'll feel. And it really is about how you receive your own failures and how you get back up. And believe it or not, people resonate, respect, and relate to people who fail and keep trying and become better.
Be fearless, be brave, and if you fall, simply pick yourself up and try again. Words to keep with you. Thank you to our disruptors. You've been watching Sellinco Live. Let's talk.
With Sellinco Life Pension Saver, Sri Lanka's premier retirement plan, start planning for your retirement today. Sellinco Life, a relationship for life.
We'll be back with Ashok Ferry and a glimpse of his newest book. He is a mathematician, a builder, a personal trainer, and the author of 5 books, all of them nominated for various literary awards. Ashok Ferry's new book, The Unmarriageable Man, he says is all about every Sri Lankan man he ever knew, and it is being launched tomorrow. Ashok popped into the Kaleidoscope studio with a scoop of the whys and wherefores of his newest book.
Well, Savi, this book has been 20 long years in the making. It's because there was some stuff in there. It's about grief, it's about the loss of a loved one, and it was actually about when my father passed away 20 years ago, and that's what actually made me a writer. The trauma of that forced me to start writing, but it's taken me 20 long years to get to that stage. But to lighten it, I have the story of my life as a builder in London in the 1980s, which was a fabulous time. I mean, it was just a silly time in London when there was so much money floating around. Not with me, I hasten to add, but there were young kids in red Porsches driving around, and every girl looked like Princess Diana, but luckily not every boy looked like Prince Charles. I do try and alternate between a dark personal book and a light frothy one, and this is one of those dark personal ones. So it's going to be the sort of book that you either love or hate. It's not in the middle. Whereas the next one might be a light frothy one if you're lucky. Savithri Rodrigo, you were one of my very first readers, and hopefully will be in many more of my performance readings. I'd like to present you with the book,
Thank you
hot
so
from the
much.
press.
Thank you. So after Ashok presented me with the book, I had a sneak read of it, and all I can say is it's a must read. Dark it may be, but it has the signature Ashok Ferry humor and clever puns. Thank you, Ashok, for giving us a little preview of The Unmarriageable Man on Singer Life in 60. Our final backdrop celebrating World Theatre Day is from Yoruba Theatre in Nigeria, a folk opera genre that combines mime, drumming, colorful costumes and folklore. Let us have your views, news and suggestions. We'd love to hear from you. Write into kaleidoscopeweekly1@gmail.com or simply scan the QR code, get into our channel and subscribe or follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Wear your mask and wash your hands. I'm very partial to using Amami hand wash. They come in handy sizes and various fragrances and can be kept everywhere to make sure everyone is ultra safe. And as we leave you with our Kaleidoscope takeaway, here's wishing you a great weekend and a week ahead. The things that make you strange are the things that make you powerful. Ben Platt.